Hello and welcome to Northwest Indian News. I'm Carissa P. Pudgobin. In 1889, homesteaders burned a Quileute village to the ground, and with it, most of the tribe's cultural possessions and belongings, destroying much of the tribe's historical record. But thanks to a very significant archaeological discovery, the Quileute Nation has restored a direct link to its history. NWIN's Mike Sarich brings us the story.
In 2013, Gig Harbor resident Eric Wasson-Carey and his son Reed found the discovery of a lifetime while fishing along the Kalawa River. The Wasson-Careys found a magnificently carved 1,000-pound stone petroglyph. They immediately knew they had stumbled onto something important and contacted the tribe.
I fished a few hours and fishing one of my favorite old holes, a big stretch of river there. And I got bored with it and threw in the towel, and I took a break and I was eating some lunch. And then I looked down at just by my feet, and my foot's right next to this rock. It's mostly moss covered. And we were looking at it closer, and we realized that, wow, these carvings just keep going in all directions. And we thought, wow, we don't know what it is, we can't explain it, but let's just take some pictures and tell the right people.
In December 2014, during a riverside ceremony, the Quileute Stone artifact was presented for the first time to tribal members, the public, and media. The rare petroglyph is a valuable connection to the tribe's past.
We were able to identify that, yes, there was a village site near where the rock was found, as well as an overland trail that connected two of our rivers together, the Salduct and the Klawa. The stone tells a story. Kwati, he was going through the world using his powers to help the people out. And the other image on the rock was of the Ha'alach, a large lizard monster. He secreted a lot of evil and poisons, and so as Kwati was going around, he had come across the Ha'alach, and a fight ensued, and he ridded the Ha'alach from the world, and so that the Quileute people would have a little safer trail overland going from one river system, the Salduct, over to the Klawa, where we had found this rock.
The petroglyph was safely transported to the Akalit Community Center, where Quileute youth had the opportunity to experience the stone firsthand.
Having the kids go up there and have that excitement about seeing the rock, you know, is heartwarming, because you think of history and culture as something that's happened a long time ago, maybe not as interesting, but having something exciting and real and being able for the kids to touch it, and hopefully it encourages them to look into the oral traditions and history a little bit more thoroughly.
Maybe it's like a path marker for us, and like maybe it's a message that our ancestors are telling us to move forward and to keep going, don't give up. Like, don't give up hope, because, you know, you never know. There's probably something better out there that's waiting for us to find it.
Petroglyphs are unusual to begin with. Finding stone carving that has this stylistic trait to it is even more unusual. It's a really rare find.
This could be thousands of years old, it could be hundreds of years old. It's certainly pre-1750. What we have here is Kwati's head with a U-form in the nose, the eye socket here, and you can see the molars right there. It's a very, very hard, very, very heavy rock, so it must have taken a long, long time to create.
I believe they knew the weight of the situation, you know, not just the poundage of the rock, but the weight that it would have for future generations, you know, in the weight of the knowledge and the story that's being told.
An evening celebration was held to officially present the petroglyph to the Quileute tribe and honor and thank the Wasson-Carey family for discovering it.
Well, I feel honored that I'm somewhat being honored. That sure wasn't any reason for doing something like this. It was just more, that's what you do. Why wouldn't you do that?
The stone petroglyph will be safely stored while the tribe makes a decision about its future. For Northwest Indian News, I'm Mike Sarich.
Coming up next, we'll learn how local tribes are keeping their native languages alive with today's youth.
I'm not going to have a birthday party. What?
Really?
I'm going to wait.
No. To my tribe, I'm more than a student. I'm an example that it's possible to get an education.
Education can end poverty, violence, and health issues on the res.
On the reservation, tribal students find ways to turn their education into an entire tribe's education.
Even when only 5% of Indians on the reservation
Only 5% of Indians
can afford to go to college.
If I do nothing, 25,000 people will continue to live in poverty.
I will help 2 million people educate themselves.
I'll keep 173,000 people from losing their sacred home.
Hey!
Washington's Indian tribes are investing in natural resources.
The main goal of the Tulalip Forestry Program is to preserve over half of our reservation in the forestry classification.
The Tulalips manage their tribal forest lands, create jobs, and also work with the U.S. Forest Service in our national forests.
We have a very unique collaborative effort here with the Tulalip tribes to restore the landscape for future generations.
Tribal stewardship of natural resources across Washington is an investment that benefits everyone.
Across Native America, language programs are providing today's youth with fun activities, cultural projects, and opportunities to learn the languages of their ancestors. NWIN's Raven Speaker brings us the story.
Language teachers are no longer just preserving their culture, they're promoting it. NWIN65 and Tulalip summer programs are teaching youth who they are through innovative, fun, culturally relevant language instruction.
We're able to capture so many qualities of our culture, so many things that make our culture unique, and we're able to teach the kids and empower them and help them have a better understanding of who their ancestors are.
In its 19th year, the Tulalip Lushootseed Language Camp connects youth ages 5 to 12 to the Lushootseed language and Tulalip culture.
The singing to me is a time to share my relationship that I have with myself in the songs, to just present what I know with myself and what these songs can do for me to them.
Students rotate through 8 learning stations that include weaving, art, acting, drumming, and singing. The lessons at each learning station are based on one traditional story. This year, students are learning Seal Hunting Brothers, passed down from Martha Lamont. Participants learn and later perform this traditional story at the end of the week-long session.
This story happens to be 900 lines, so we really had to break it down to just the bare minimum to be able to do the play. We're able to teach them about who passed on the stories, who passed on certain songs, to really help them feel empowered with all of these great teachings that are left for all of us.
The Lushootseed Language Department has designed DSI game cartridges that allow kids to self-test, learn letters, vocabulary, and sentence structure.
On the DS, it has a picture on the top of what it is, and then on the bottom is the Lushootseed word for it. And then all you're doing is just going through all the words and saying them out loud, and then you can quiz yourself on those words that you just did.
All the kids love technology. They want to be able to get on the DSIs, listen to the songs, practice their lines for the play, do some games. So that is one of our newer stations that the kids are definitely excited for.
Students in NWIN65 summer language programs are taken on short excursions in the area where activities like hiking and picking huckleberries are blended with language learning.
For the summer program, we really try to do a lot of place-based learning, and we really want to give the kids a connection to where they're from and just try to infuse language into everyday activities. So today when we went to Hurricane Ridge, we went over the colors. We added yellow, paquite, lalupin, purple. We talked about the meadows, sacred sites, mountain medicine, and we talked about the flood story, which is relevant because we can see the mountains from that point really good.
The NWIN65 language program has received funding to create engaging language videos and DVDs that help young students focus on their ancestors' language.
Throughout our programs, whether it's the summer school or the after-school program, we teach that language on a daily basis. We try to put as much language as possible into everyday activities, and we have our video specialist documenting that, trying to get footage of the kids repeating the words that we're teaching so we can incorporate those into some Clallam language instructional videos. In this video, you'll notice certain Clallam words are pronounced differently.
Because one of our problems is the kids speak the language, but when they go home, their parents don't know it. So when they go home, they can give their parents this video and their siblings and cousins or whoever else that's not in our program, and they can start learning the language as well.
But quite just towards highs.
Having it additionally helps just keep it there in their brain, because like during the summer, we're not with the kids for 2 or 3 months straight, and if they have that video there, then they can remember things, words, phrases, versus if we were just out of their lives and only seen them a couple times during the summer. It just keeps them refreshed and it keeps it there, because we can't be in their lives 24/7, but we can put little tools in there.
For myself, I think that the culture and the language is of the utmost importance, because that defines who we are. We wouldn't be the Lower Elwha Clallam people without that culture, without those ties, without that language. So to me, it is the most important program in the tribe.
Numna Northwest Indian News, maalskam kahtiwayo. Dimalganiten.
Next, we'll learn how Indigenous Peoples Day became part of the official Seattle calendar.
Here to City Hall today, it's huge, and this is going to leave a lasting legacy.
Well, you know, I think it's a moment for us to recognize both the contribution of the Native American population in Seattle, as well as a day to also recognize the incredible pain and suffering that has happened throughout the history of European settlement.
That story and more on this episode of Northwest Indian News.
Who says that all good things must come to an end? That nothing lasts forever? That you can't turn the tide for good? For us, protecting nature comes so naturally. We're the tribes in Western Washington, stewards, and have been for centuries to come.
We have our own way of thinking. We think sustainability is nothing new. We think justice is older than any government. We think we can grow radishes on the moon. We think the war against diabetes is fought on the basketball court. We think the same berries we pick today should be here for another 7 generations. We think education is for the mind and the spirit. We think Indian.
Help tribal college students preserve their way of thinking.
Welcome back to Northwest Indian News. Joining a growing list of cities and states, Seattle has officially changed the federally recognized holiday of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. Representatives from many local tribes were on hand to celebrate the passing of this long overdue resolution. NWIN's Leander Smith brings us more.
Seattle City Hall filled with supporters from around the community to celebrate a resolution to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. The resolution, passed unanimously by Seattle City Council, names the second Tuesday in October Indigenous Peoples Day, a long overdue recognition of the grim truth of colonization and an honoring of the original people of the Northwest.
We now get to celebrate
the Indigenous people who've always been here, who've always belonged here, and who've always been the forefront and the beginning of all things of America. And so truly we're able to finally justify and say, thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. Thank you for recognizing our Indigenous people and our ancestors who may never have thought today would be possible.
There's so much that I fight for, or our youth fight for, our Native community fights for, and I feel like today is a day that we're just able to celebrate. And that makes me feel very proud and very excited and looking forward to this date every year instead of loathing it because it was Columbus Day. Like now I can look forward to this day, the second Monday in October.
Well, I've seen a lot of pride, a lot of joy on the faces of our youth because it's giving voice. We're here and we matter, and you know this legacy that Columbus represents, which is a brutal one to Native peoples, is shouldn't be celebrated or recognized.
We have a lot of holidays celebrating founding fathers, the establishment of certain things, the establishment of our country, the discovery of our country, but we have nothing that acknowledges that there were living cultures, political entities here already before all of that came about. So I think the mayor having the signing, inviting tribal leaders, community leaders, here to City Hall today, it's huge, and this is going to leave a lasting legacy.
Well, I think it's a moment for us to recognize both the contribution of the Native American population in Seattle, as well as a day to also recognize the incredible pain and suffering that has happened throughout the history of European settlement and that impact on Native American communities. It's an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to remember, it's an opportunity to build a future that looks better than the past.
If you can acknowledge the truth of the history of where you come from, everybody benefits. And when they speak the truth, then they are not just helping the Indigenous people, but they're especially helping themselves. They are becoming better people.
We're not the first major city to do this, but we're close. Minneapolis did it earlier this year. So Minneapolis and Seattle today will be the first major cities celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day for the first time.
Columbus Day is a federal holiday, so the ultimate goal is to abolish it on a federal level, but in the meantime, what we can do is build a strong grassroots movement, tribe to city to city. A lot of people are talking about pushing similar resolutions in their hometowns.
All these things lead to so much, and maybe in some person's terms it could be so simple, like, oh, it's just a name change, and it's like, to me, it's expansive. It's cracking the levee and letting it just break open for all this positive change to happen. It's Indigenous Peoples Day. I'm gonna wear some of my regalia. I'm gonna wear some of my earrings my grandma made me, or I'm gonna be proud.
You're taking a major step in history. 100 years from now, they're gonna say, hey, where did this start? You're gonna be one of those big steps.
Other cities continue to respond to this growing movement. This year, the city of Bellingham voted unanimously to change Columbus Day to Coast Salish Day. Keep watching Northwest Indian News as we follow this ongoing effort to recognize our shared history. This is Leandra Smith reporting.
Visit NWIN.TV, where you can view every episode of Northwest Indian News on demand, including the stories you've seen today.
My foot's right next to this rock. It's mostly moss covered. We were looking at it closer and we realized that, wow, these carvings just keep going in all directions.
You can also watch NWIN and other Native programming at tulaliptv.com. Coming up next, we'll see how one community is challenging their people to get healthy and active.
And then you look at CrossFit, and it's, in a way, a traditional fitness too. How many years that pull-up break would turn into, a tree someone would have to climb. The barbells would turn into some wood someone would have to move. The weight, exactly, some rocks they would have to move to build something to live, basically.
If I stay on the res, I'll be 8 times less likely to drop out of college.
If I stay on the res,
I won't be just another number.
I can learn biology in my native language.
I can use my education to help my people.
If I stay on the res,
I'll be more likely to transfer to a university.
6 times more likely.
If I stay on the res,
there's a 9 in 10 chance I'll finish college.
And I will finish college.
I will learn about the old ways so my culture will live on.
I will make my parents proud.
I'll make my people proud.
Our history will not be forgotten.
If I stay on the res.
I can get a quality education.
at a tribal college.
At a tribal college.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
Learn more about the 33 tribal colleges and how they're helping Native American people and their reservations. The American Indian College Fund, educating the mind and spirit.
I'm going to stay on the res.
Welcome back to Northwest Indian News. On the Tulalip Reservation, a gym has been improving the health of its members by challenging them with intense workout routines and providing coaching in traditional food diets to jumpstart their fitness goals. NWIN's Nikki Cleary worked up a sweat to bring us this story.
Over 2 years ago, Tulalip Bay CrossFit opened its doors, one of the only certified CrossFit gyms to open on a reservation. Since that time, Coach Apollo Lewis and his staff have been pushing their clients to achieve their emotional, social, and physical goals through a combination of CrossFit training and healthy diet.
We focus a lot on mobility and flexibility and those things that help you last a little bit longer, the strength to pick things up. And then I always tell people, like, a deadlift is just picking your grandkid up off the ground. So it's important for everyone to be able to pick up weight. It's important to be able to move your body through space, and it's important to eat good. One of the ways that CrossFit tries to come through is paleo, which is short for Paleolithic. It's just a time period of when we started way back when, and it's basically a traditional foods diet. Same thing that Native people have been used to very recently, up until about 250 to 300 years ago.
Also unique to Tulalip is it brings us back to traditional foods in a way that maybe if you're living in a city, you're gonna stick to things that are paleo, but here we're encouraged to go back to things that we can actually harvest ourselves.
I do like paleo. It kind of brings me back to growing up. I grew up on a farm, grew up off the land, and then when my dad passed away, we kind of stopped eating, the vegetables from the garden, stopped eating so much, beef and stuff, and my diet kind of got, this is bringing me back to the way I grew up.
But, and then finish with that press, head to the one at the top. 5 push press, go.
And then you look at CrossFit and it's, in a way, a traditional fitness too. How many years that pole break would turn into, a tree someone would have to climb. The barbells would turn into some wood someone would have to move. The weight, exactly, some rocks they would have to move to build something to live, basically.
But still, what jazzes me up the most is helping someone that came in with maybe diabetes or with an issue, with a shoulder issue, or just overweight and wanting to better themselves, and watching them grow over 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Now they're doing things that they weren't able to do in high school.
CrossFit definitely is lengthening my life. I was in a place where I could barely walk around a block. My feet were getting deteriorated from my weight, from the food that I was eating. And when I first started CrossFit, I barely could do any of the movements. And now I can't say that I can do all the movements, but I'm definitely stronger. And so I try not to focus on what it does for me physically in terms of what I look like, but how I feel.
Just seeing how far I've come in these 2 years is like, I get excited, every time I do something, that I impress myself almost every day.
Caleb, he was kind of like, hey man, you should come check it out, and came and checked it out and pretty much fell in love right then and there. I guess I fell in love with the progress. I'm a lot stronger, I'm a lot faster, and I'm a lot healthier. I'm more awake and ready for whatever's thrown my way, I guess so.
Some people's most favorite part is coming in before the gym and staying late after that hour workout or whatever they do, just to conversate and talk with people about, you know, how life is going or even about stuff in the gym.
I think the people that I see every day at Tulalip Bay CrossFit, you can see them anywhere and you're going to have something in common and you're automatically going to be talking about fitness and health and just being able to walk through the world in a better way. And I think that before CrossFit, you weren't connected to people around ideas of fitness and health, that just automatically by membership.
Some people might think that we're a cult, and yeah, we might be a cult because we all believe the same positive things about healthy lifestyles and healthy food and really taking care of yourself and putting your body in the front line of your life and making it a priority.
A future for Tulalip Bay CrossFit is just trying to continue to grow, trying to continue to reach more people on the reservation and even other reservations to try and gather more momentum and get more people aware of health and fitness.
Okay, so keep the elbows in tight to the body, hands down by the waist, hands in front of the waist.
For more information about Tulalip Bay CrossFit, check out their website or find them on Facebook. For Northwest Indian News, I'm Nikki Cleary.
I'm Carissa Peapud-Gobin, and I hope you've enjoyed the stories we've brought to you today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time on Northwest Indian News.